All right. Welcome everyone to our brand new series. This is our YouTube series of FOMO Fighters.
FOMO Fighters.
Or Travel Tuesdays.
Yeah, we're going to be going live every Tuesday at noon EST. It's going to be 20 minutes. We're going to be talking about different topics just because we've been doing this for a long time and we just want to share some information. We're not going to sell you a course or anything afterwards. We just want to share our experience.
And everything's going to be very specific. So we're going to dive into very specific topics each week just so that you can actually really learn different things about traveling that are going to be helpful for you and you don't have to spend an hour or two of your time.
Yes. So today's episode, the first episode, is going to be how to plan your year to get the most amount of days off. And
so basically how you're going to travel in 2026. We want you to be able to optimize your time, be able to have the most amount of days off and maximize your adventures. And that can be whether you want to go abroad or if you want to just do something local. Before we get started, grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, or in Freddy's case, mate.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm originally from Argentina. Danny's from New York. And in Argentina, we have this drink called mate, which is kind of like herbs, but we'll talk in another episode. It's a very social drink and it's very traditional. So I figure since it's the first episode, why not introduce the mate as well?
All right, so we're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. We have been together for 8 years. We met working on cruise ships, and we have been traveling for God knows how long, a few decades now.
Yeah, and regarding traveling, we've also worked in pretty much every stage of work that you can work. So we've been working for other people in the corporate world. We also travel on cruise ships.
Yeah, we've honestly done it all. So a lot of people will be like, you don't understand. You can only travel because you have a travel business. You can only travel because you have a lot of money. You can only travel because you have all this time in the world. The truth is, we have actually worked in pretty much any kind of scenario. So we can tell you how to travel more regardless of what your situation is.
In fact, in 2025, we traveled to, if I'm not mistaken, 15 countries.
Yeah,
and
15 new countries.
And we actually worked 360-ish days of the year.
Oh yeah, we work every day. So don't think that it's because we don't work.
Yeah.
But anyway, so basically I started traveling ever since college. I was obsessed with traveling. I was working in the service industry. I was working 3 jobs. I was studying full time, and I always made it a priority of mine to go and travel. And then after that, I studied abroad in Spain. I became obsessed. I moved to Spain, and I basically held down 4 different jobs so that I would be able to live in Spain. And even making less than $1,000 a month, I was traveling pretty much every single weekend.
Yeah, I worked in a corporate job for 6.5 years. And I remember in the middle, I had a summer where I did a work and travel experience. I moved to the US for 3-4 months. I was working in a ski resort. And I remember coming back from that experience where I worked, I traveled, and I made money in the process. And I came back to my job and I was like, it can't be possible that I'm saving money all year just to take a few weeks off and drain my bank account. So I started looking for new experiences then to make money and travel. And that's how I ended up working on cruise ships, where I ended up doing that.
And that's where we met. And basically, when we were working on cruise ships, I don't know if anyone knows about what working on cruise ships is like, but you work 7 days a week and you work 10 hours a day. So that doesn't sound like you can travel a lot, but I promise you, I was that person who was waking up the second we docked, and I would not come onto that ship until the second that we needed to be on board. And the 2 of us were working and traveling at the same time, and our salaries were garbage, and we still had the best time ever.
And just to summarize where we're at today, during the pandemic, we were separated because she was stuck on a cruise ship and I was stuck in Argentina. So we started our website. We started talking about traveling in our blog, which you're going to find an episode and a blog post here in the description of this video where you can see about the topic we're actually talking today. Anyway, long story short, 6 years later, we're here. We want to share all the experience we've had through all these years. And we just want to share it in like small nuggets that you can take home with a little homework and just like very, very simple key points for you to maximize the way you travel, both in how much money you spend, how much time you take off, and really getting the best out of every situation. But the most important and the reason why we made this is to fight FOMO, fight the fear of missing out, so that whenever you want to do something and you know it's important to you, that you never have to miss out on it, whether it's because you don't have the budget, because you don't have the time, or just because you didn't know that place existed. So we're going to give you tools to budget, we're going to give you tools to plan better, and we're going to give you tools to also make sure that you're up to date with what's happening around the world. So let's head into the topic. How do we start?
Okay. So step one, no matter what your job is, listen, if you're unemployed, then the world is your oyster. You can just take your money and obviously travel very locally on a very tight budget. We'll get into that in another episode. But if you are working, obviously you do have limited time off. So step one is making sure you know exactly how much time you have off, how much PTO you have, what days you're allowed to take off, and if there are any blackout periods, because certain careers, certain jobs out there will say, hey, you can't take off during these weeks. If you're in the hospitality industry, there's a high chance during Christmas week or during spring break, you're not going to be able to take off. So you want to get those out of the way first thing.
Also, something that's important is not only check the country you're working in, but also the company you're working in, because there are some holidays that are national, that are applied to everyone. But there's some other ones that are not mandatory, but some companies will give you. For example, some companies will give you off on your birthday, some companies won't. So it's important to know.
June 19th, some won't.
Exactly. So it's very important to have an exact count of how many days you will not be working this year so that you can make the best out of it.
And then dives in a little bit to step two, which is basically finding out what the holiday weekends are. Okay. When I was living in Spain, I can't even tell you how many times I found out they'd be like, hay un puente. Puente is a bridge, but basically it means that there's a day off, like let's say Friday, so it's a 3-day weekend, or Monday, so it's a 3-day weekend. So I can't even tell you how many puentes there were. And I would find out the last minute, I'm like, damn it, I definitely could have gone somewhere this weekend. So what you want to do is check your company's schedule, find out what all of the holiday weekends are, and then that way you can maximize them to the best of your ability ahead of time.
Yeah, a very simple thing that a lot of you probably know by now. We like to call it the sandwich holiday, which talks about what Danny was saying, the puente. Sometimes a holiday would land on a Thursday, and for example, in Argentina, a lot of times when a holiday lands on a Thursday or a Tuesday, it will be moved to either Monday or Friday just to get it closer to the weekend.
But I think in the US, a lot of times, like if you have off on a Thursday, what a lot of people will do will just take off the Friday.
Yeah.
And then basically you're making a massive weekend for yourself without having to take a ton of days off.
And sometimes when the holiday cannot be moved from Thursday to Friday, that the government doesn't dictate that, some companies will say, okay, you know what? Thursday, you don't work. Friday, you can also take off. So it's important that you know the company you're working with, because some companies will give you that. For example, this year, well, obviously Christmas and New Year's are a little different, but because Christmas and New Year's were on Wednesday and Thursday, I know a lot of companies that gave Friday off, where some companies also did make the workers come and work. So it's just a matter of like really understanding the whole situation you're in as far as how many days you're actually having for yourself and how many days you can put on top of that to maximize the total amount.
And on a side note, if you're working remotely, that is something that can work in your favor so much. Now, some people can work remotely, but they can't leave their state, right? Like they can't leave New York. That doesn't mean you can't go and travel.
New York is huge.
Go to Niagara Falls. Go to, you can go
to Albany. You can go anywhere.
You can go anywhere. So if you work remotely, there are so many good opportunities. And even you can go work in a cafe in another city in, just a different kind of atmosphere. And that will totally change how you feel about your work hours. And then if you can work remotely, let's say you can work remotely as long as it's within the US. Guess what? You can go to Puerto Rico. Our friend came with us. She was working remotely. And they said, as long as you don't leave the US, you're good. So she stayed in Puerto Rico with us for 2 weeks. She was supposed to only come for a few days. And then we were like, Deb, come on. Like, you gotta stay extra days. Like, and so she stayed with us for 2 weeks, and we just all worked by the pool. Like we were still working.
And if you go one step ahead and your company does allow you to work remotely internationally, for example, if you work in New York hours and you go to Spain, which have a, depending on the time of the year, 5 or 6 hour difference, that means you don't start working until 3 in the afternoon. That means every single day you can go and explore a new country. And then 3 p.m. you sit down, you go work, you work until like 11 p.m. or so, depending on the company. And that's it. You travel every day, you discover things every day, and you're still not taking time off. So that maximizes your year.
100%. All right.
Now, once you know everything as far as days off you have and the company you work for, we'll move into the next tier, which is knowing what are the prior commitments or the prior engagements you have.
Yes, your prior engagements are so important. Okay. For example, we're getting married this year. We're like, hey guys, don't forget that you need to take off days in September. So if you have any weddings, even if it's like a Sunday event, like a baby shower or something, make sure you write that down because you want to make sure that you're home for it. Or if you have any kind of engagements with work, let's say there's a work trip, you can take that work trip and say, hey, okay, I need to be there for these days, but I can extend that. I can actually stay in that place and use that as an opportunity to travel or go somewhere nearby. There are a million different things that you can do, but prior engagements are key. You need to have those down before you're planning your year.
Quick example. Our year, 2026, we'll show you the behind the curtains. What are the key events we have for this year? First, in June, the World Cup starts. I'm a huge fan of football for the rest of the world, soccer in the US. And this year happens to be in the US, and Danny's family lives very nearby some of the stadiums. So we will go mid-June to the US just to make sure that we stay there for a whole month and we can experience the World Cup. That's a key event for us. Then in September, we happen to have our wedding in Turkey. And then October and November, we have 3 more weddings here in Argentina. So we already know, we mapped out the year and we know June, we're going to be in the US, September in Turkey, October, November in Argentina. Then Thanksgiving is coming, so we're going to the US, and this year we're spending the holidays in the US. So that gives us like a little idea of, okay, where do we need to be and when?
Exactly. And of course, we work remotely, so it is a little bit different. But regardless, that's a step that everyone needs to do. Step 4. Now, these are special events that are happening that aren't obligations, but that you want to do. So, for example, do you want to go to Holi Festival in India? Do you want to see the cherry blossoms in Japan? I mean,
do you want to go to Tomatina in Spain, which we've done once? I wouldn't do it twice.
It's so much fun, though.
Exactly. There's so many events around the world. Oktoberfest, well, in Germany and in Austria, and even in New York and Argentina, there's an Oktoberfest. But if you want to go to Germany for Oktoberfest, you know it's a specific time of the year. So after you write down how much time you have off, after you write down what are your key commitments for the year, write down
all your holiday weekends.
Yeah, all the events that you really want to attend. And guess what?
Make your travel wish list, okay? But these are going to be events that, not like, oh, I really want to go to Italy. Italy is great year round, okay? We want you to write down the things that are super time sensitive, okay? And if you need any kind of inspo for like really cool events around the world, we've actually written an article, 55 different holidays and festivals that are around the world. And we've also made a downloadable and printable calendar, which literally outlines every single event that's happening this year. So then we have our 5th step.
Oh, this is a little pro tip. If you really don't know what events are happening around the world, let's say, I don't know, you just started traveling now, or you didn't have the means before, or you didn't have the interest. You're just like a newborn into the travel industry, and you don't know exactly what's happening to it. It's kind of overwhelming to look around. A pro tip is look for creators, travel creators like us or other people. There are so many good creators out there. Most of them, including us, we have newsletters. Well, every week we give you either a travel tip or we give you a travel destination or a travel event that's happening. Our main focus as a company is to help you avoid FOMO when traveling, meaning go to the most important things for you and make sure you don't miss out on them. But every week you can get tips and advice from people who have done it so you can get more inspo.
All right. So basically then step 5, you want to put all of these things on your calendar and you want to start looking up flights. The thing that's going to get you booking your trips and actually committing is booking the flights. That's actually something that we're going to go into next week. We're going to be talking about all of the different tips that we have for finding cheap flights because so many people think that, oh my God, it is so expensive. I can't go to Argentina. That's so expensive. No, guess what? I came here for $180 from New York. You just need to know how to look up flights.
Yes.
So we'll be diving into that next week.
Yeah. So your homework for next week will be to have a full wish list of all the places and all the things you like to do this year. Don't think with reason, don't think with budget. Just write down the things you would like to do because you would be surprised how much closer you are to attending all of those events that you really think. Because if you think, any flight is going to cost me, $2,000-$3,000 and accommodation is going to cost me an extra $1,000. If you think that every weekend that you want to take to go to an event is going to cost you $5,000, of course you're not going to want to plan a lot. Just Write down as if budget wasn't a problem. Write down as if time wasn't a problem. And next week, we're going to show you a million things we know to travel more.
In a few weeks' time, you guys are going to be able to start really making your bucket list happen. And that's exactly what we want you to do. So if you had any questions about anything, feel free to drop them below. We're going to be posting this video later on. And then also, if you just want some notes, you can go. We've actually written a full article on it. It's our most previously posted article. It's about this exact topic, planning your travel year.
We have a question from Janina who's saying, does Cappadocia count for that list? Of course it does. For those of you who don't know, Cappadocia is a region in Turkey where you see a lot of pictures from 100 hot air balloons flying at the same time. And it happens to be the destination we chose for our wedding. So if you are invited to our wedding, please mark Cappadocia as one of your key events for the year. And next week, we'll tell you how to make it there. Just to give a quick summary of what's going to be happening with this, in the description of this video, you're going to find a link to the blog article that speaks about everything we talked about today. You're also going to find a link to our podcast. We have a podcast called Travel Buddies, where we also have summaries of all these topics and all the blog posts that we have on our website. That way, if you like to listen to a podcast on the way to work, you can listen to a 15-minute summary. If you want to read, you can read in the blog. And every Tuesday at noon EST, we're going to be going live, teaching you a new topic. And remember, next week is going to be how to find cheap flights around the world.
Thanks for tuning in.
See you next time.